Finally, somebody we can trust with our gun rights. Now, obviously, I'm being hyperbolic when I say that, but today I want to talk about Gavin Newsom accepting a P365 X macro, California compliant, of course, on the Sean Ryan show. Why would he do something like this? Well, I really want to focus on what he says, kind of his body language in a way whenever he receives this gift, because I think it does kind of catch him off guard, but I want to look at some things specifically that he says that maybe you missed, maybe you didn't, maybe you caught on to this instantly, but I want to look at that because it says a lot about the way he perceived this gift, but also I want to look at the stuff that he's done when it comes to gun owners, gun rights in California. I don't want to just talk about all the things you already know when it comes to California. I want to talk about some of the things that maybe you don't know too. Because there is obviously a reason that Gavin Newsom is trying to become more appealing to the common man. I think that's probably a big reason that he started his podcast as well and talking to people from opposite sides. But what I don't want you to do is be deceived. There's going to be a lot of people that say, hey, we couldn't trust Trump with our gun rights, and look how that's gone so far. And while that may be true, Gavin Newsom has a clear record when it comes to the Second Amendment. And so while I'm under the belief you can't trust any politician until you see what they actually do, in this case, we can see what he's done and we can see where he's going if he were to actually succeed in becoming president of the United States, which is one of the reasons I think he's doing this, but it's not the sole reason. Of course, I want to hear your opinion, whatever that might be. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Now let's look at a short clip of how this went down on the Sean Ryan show.
What do you got, man?
Here we go. You ready for this?
Look, oh Jesus!
Ready for this?
Is this an accident? I got to report this.
P365 macro.
Come on, man.
I don't know exactly what makes it.
By the way, this is too cool. The fact that you would give me this.
You
can't
like
even
that?
look this up. So you just want me to TSA to take this from me and my ass is arrested?
Now I think he was caught off guard. I honestly don't think he was expecting this. But one of the first things that he says after he receives this of course is kind of an edited clip, so just keep that in mind. But he says, I'm all about people having the right to bear arms. I just want some common sense gun safety. Now to most people that sounds reasonable, but let's look at what is common sense in the state of California, at least in Gavin Newsom's eyes. ARs, okay? This started in 1989 before Gavin Newsom, okay? But it's been expanded since 1989, essentially. And what they do is they look at evil features on rifles. So think about the assault weapons ban, only expanded. So if it has an evil feature like a pistol grip or a flash height or any number of the different arbitrary devices on a rifle that allow it to function essentially, then it can have a detachable magazine. Of course, it can't be over 10 rounds. But if it has one of those evil features, like a pistol grip, flash height, or anything else, then it has to have a fixed magazine, which means you have to literally remove the rear takedown pin in order to reload the gun. So your standard AR, right? Collapsible stock, pistol grip, detachable mag, flash hider. If this one had a vertical grip, whew, this is dangerous in California. You've seen the California compliant models of the AR. They look absolutely ridiculous. They got the big fin under here. They're literally just a neutered version of a standard AR. Micro stamping technology. So new pistols, I think they extended this to 2028, have to have micro stamping technology. So whenever a shot is fired, essentially the gun itself is going to leave a unique indentation on the casing that will show exactly who owned that specific firearm. 10-day waiting periods, okay? This has cost people their lives, by the way. You may think, oh, 10-day waiting period, that's nothing, right? If you want to buy a gun, you can wait 10 days. But there have been people that have literally went to buy guns in order to protect themselves because of some failed restraining order, which is just a piece of paper, and ended up losing their life in the process because they were waiting to finally receive their firearm. You got California compliant pistols, you of course got the magazine restrictions, you have the background check on ammo. You can't carry in sensitive places. By the way, they deem everywhere a sensitive place in California. Safe storage laws. Pistols have to have magazine disconnects and loaded chamber indicators. There's a handgun roster, of course. Certain guns will never make the roster. There's ones that fall off every single year because they're no longer compliant. Gen 4, Gen 5 Glocks, they made the changes to make those Glocks less easily convertible to full auto, even though most law-abiding gun owners are never going to do this. Criminals still do this in California, by the way, but they won't allow the less convertible Gen 4 and Gen 5 Glocks. 1 gun per month rules. I mean, the list goes on and on. That's just a portion of the gun laws they have. So you may be thinking, well, okay, certainly that's made a difference in the amount of crime in California. There's no measurable statistic that says they have any lower crime than other places in the United States. Crime has overall gone down over the past couple of decades, so they kind of follow that same trend. But the rate in which crime guns have been found have increased. Violent crime is still above pre-pandemic levels. You, of course, have part of their border policies and immigration policies, also tent cities, right? They don't prosecute crime in the same way that other states do. They take this kind of utopian approach that if we hand out the tools to addicts, that will somehow make them want to seek out help. And now you have entire places in the city of California that are just overrun with tent cities and people passed out, hunched over themselves, standing in the middle of streets. It's insane. Crime is underreported in the state because they don't prosecute crime in the same way that other states will. Remember the story from a couple years ago where trains were literally being robbed and you had, FedEx and UPS packages everywhere from these train heists? What do? Just write it off. But they'll be sure to show Gavin Newsom helping to clean up the city when somebody important arrives. And then it almost reminds me of Nazi Germany. I hate to use that example because a lot of people on the other side of the argument do that. But when the 1936 Olympics happened, that's exactly what they did. Any kind of anti-Semitic materials and segregation, all that kind of stuff that was happening to Jewish people in Germany at the time, they eliminated that. At least while other countries were there and other prominent people were there. So it made it look like, oh, they're, totally accepting of everybody, even though that wasn't the case. It's the same type of thing. Now, I'm not comparing Gavin Newsom to Hitler, but what I am saying, it's the same type of tactics that are used. All they've done is restrict the rights of gun owners while helping out criminals. This is the perfect example of how you don't run a state, and yet they still continue, in these big cities anyways, they continue to vote this clown in. Now, Sean Ryan maybe was hoping to make him squirm on camera. I have no idea what happened before the camera started rolling. None of us do. It is kind of a funny thing to give one of the most anti-gun politicians in history one of the best pistols on the market, which is the P365X Macro. But you can tell he's not a gun guy. The way he holds the pistol, it's really weird and awkward, and that's kind of what you would expect. But don't fall for the smiling and the suit and, I'm pro-gun. Always listen for the word but after I'm pro-gun because that'll tell you how they really feel. This is not the guy that you want to trust with your gun rights. That's for sure, because all of the progress that you see right now happening will be stripped. I believe this is one of the politicians that will push for everything you see in California nationwide. That doesn't mean that he would get it all passed if he were to be elected. But my fear is that people will see him as more of a moderate, right? You compare that to Bernie and you're like, okay, yeah, I could probably deal with Gavin more than Bernie. Maybe that's what some people were thinking. Oh, okay, he accepted a gun as a gift, so maybe he's not so anti-gun. To me, this whole starting the podcast and talking to these people, it's been a political play the entire time. Let me get through to common people, to middle America, to gun owners, to people that wouldn't normally vote for me. Let me show another side. And I think that's what he is. He's a showman. He's an actor. He's in California. He's probably had good practice with that. All of these, the vast majority of these people in California, from actors to politicians, are phony and don't believe a word they say. This guy can never be trusted with your gun rights, much less in California. Definitely not on a national scale. There you go. There's my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, holding down.